Did you see that when DB came back and played for us, that they got mad that our fan base was booing her?
I don't believe in booing former players unless they left on like some type shit.
You're watching the very moment Sophie Cunningham shattered a decades-old playbook that's been quietly steering WNBA narratives. What began as a casual podcast conversation about Dana Bonner's messy departure has snowballed into something far bigger, and the old-school media gatekeepers are losing their minds. Here's what they'd rather you not see. Sophie has just proven that WNBA players like her, Caitlin Clark, and the Indiana Fever don't need ESPN, The Athletic, or any of the league's long-protected media darlings to control their own stories. She bypassed every outdated channel, went directly to the fans, and racked up more genuine engagement than most established sports reporters could dream of in an entire year. For an industry built on playing middleman between athletes and the public, that's not just unsettling, it's existential. Show your support for Sophie by dropping a spicy Sophie in the comments. Let's go.
I like DB because like DB was one of my vets when I was in Phoenix, and then we gathered here into Indiana, and like it was kind of a surprise that she was signed to Indiana anyway, and so we'll take her in a heartbeat. Like, she's a Hall of Famer, she's a hell of a basketball player, can score from anywhere on the court.
Before we dive into how Sophie accidentally exposed the cracks in the WNBA's media machine, take a moment to imagine what the league might look like if players truly controlled their own narratives. No biased filters, no anti-Clark slant, no hidden agendas designed to turn teammates against one another. What Sophie just pulled off goes far beyond the Bonner drama. We're witnessing the beginning of a new era, one that could completely redefine who gets to shape the story in women's basketball.
I just think, and you know way better than me,
Yeah.
but like, it just feels like people are jealous of this new little wave of.
They are, but I just hate that because like this is what we've always wanted as a league. So like, who cares who gets the credit? And if you're smart, you're making money off of them.
Yeah.
Like, you are literally making money from the viewership.
And why bully the person who is like not 100% responsible, but like has a huge role in growing your sport?
Dude, and it literally like pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What?
For years, the legacy sports media has built walls around WNBA coverage, deciding which players deserved airtime and which stories fit the brand's narrative. But Sophie just proved those walls aren't made of stone. They're made of soggy tissue paper. Let's break down how one unfiltered podcast episode exposed just how fragile the system really is, and why every major sports outlet is now scrambling to secure player partnerships before they lose control of the narrative entirely. The warning signs were in the numbers. Sophie's following has quietly soared past 1.6 million on TikTok and 1.1 million on Instagram, surpassing the combined reach of many of the WNBA's so-called insider reporters. She built that empire while ESPN was busy acting like Caitlin Clark's record-breaking nights weren't even newsworthy.
I went from I think like
followers, yeah,
350,000 and like maybe 200,000 on TikTok.
You had 200,000 on TikTok a month ago?
No. I
Before the fight.
Before the fight, and then I had like 350 on 100,000 on Instagram. Over the night, or over like a day and a half, over 1 million on both. Insane. This is coming from me though, dude.
That's
I got tired of
crazy.
seeing myself.
I get it.
And I love myself.
Oh, I get it.
I love myself. I was over it.
And here's the part that turns the entire game upside down. Sophie didn't get there by bowing to the old guard. She got there by speaking the language real fans actually understand. Unapologetic, competitive, authentic. While some players worked overtime to make sure the media kept them inside a safe, polished bubble, Sophie went straight to the people, offering what ESPN's Safe for broadcast soundbites never could: authenticity. That was the exact moment the power shifted. Sophie didn't whisper her intel to a reporter. She didn't gift trap it for The Athletic. She didn't even tease it on Twitter first. Instead, she sat down with her Show Me Something co-host and dropped a truth bomb that completely flipped the Bonner controversy on its head. No editors, no spin, no corporate PR script. Just raw, unfiltered truth for anyone ready to hear it. In the old days, if a player had inside scoop on locker room chaos or shady exits, it would trickle to a beat reporter, get massaged into a carefully sourced piece, and then be spoon-fed to the audience, always on the media's terms. Timing controlled, framing controlled, impact controlled.
But she got to Indiana and she just like really wasn't happy. And like, I want people to be happy. So that's why I'm kind of like neutral on this one, which a lot of people are surprised about. She's towards the end of her career. So like, she deserves her flowers. She deserves to be happy. But I also think that if you're going to leave Like, you're gonna have to expect getting booed. Like,
Was there explanation when it happened? No. Not even privately? Yeah, I mean, okay. That's tough. And, yeah, okay. Well, I did say what? Unless you leave on some you type shit, and that's what that is, so.
yeah.
Sophie looked at all that and basically said, yeah, no, she told the story herself and told it better than any outsider ever could because she was there, living it. She had the first-hand credibility, the context, and the platform to drop it without asking anyone for permission. That's a level of freedom the establishment media would rather Caitlin Clark or any Fever player ever have.
I'm still rooting for her. Like, I want her to end her career and be happy. But I also think that, like, it's okay to be professional about it and, like, send a text to your teammates. Send a text and be like, hey, like, love you guys. Or you don't even have to say love you guys. Just like, hey, sorry this didn't work out. Good luck. Da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way to handle that.
And here's the strategic bombshell almost everyone missed. Sophie's podcast isn't just her sitting in a garage with a microphone. It's distributed by Colin Cowherd's sports media empire. The Volume, that's the first major crossover between a WNBA player's content and the muscle of mainstream sports media. They didn't bring her on out of charity or as some token gesture to support women's sports. They signed her because they saw what ESPN couldn't. That real, player-driven storytelling destroys sterile, politically safe coverage every single time. That deal alone sends a loud, unmistakable message. WNBA stars no longer have to stay tucked away in the women's sports corner. They can step directly into the mainstream sports arena and connect with a bigger, hungrier audience, one far less concerned with protecting the old hierarchy, and far more interested in hearing the truth. Sophie's success is going to make other players realize they don't need the middleman, and that's exactly why the traditional media guard is starting to sweat. We're already hearing reports that major sports networks are scrambling to sign WNBA players to their own shows. Why? Because Sophie proved there's a massive market for unfiltered, player-created content, and fans will choose that over ESPN's corporate-approved narratives every single time.
Really good, well-known people in our league. I'm not discrediting them. Like, we have a lot of badasses in our league.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah to that. I'm all for that. But when people try to argue that she's not the face of our league,
Yeah.
or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as shit.
Yeah.
You're literally dumb.
Sophie's breaking the league's unwritten Protect the Veterans Code, the one that says you never criticize the inner circle, you never expose the politics, and you certainly never give fans a reason to question certain sacred cows. Looked at that unspoken agreement and called it what it really is: broken. Sophie told the truth about Bonner's messy exit, not because it was easy or safe, but because it was real, and that willingness to put truth above politics. That's exactly what new WNBA fans, especially Caitlin Clark's massive following, have been craving, while the old media has been far too afraid to touch it.
One of the biggest stars the WNBA's ever
Who's that?
had. Her name rhymes with Schmaitland.
Hurtland?
Yeah. What has that been like, seeing her not only kind of transform a league, but also just be like,
No,
is that fair to say? Okay.
not even just the league, but like
The
women's
sport,
basketball as a whole around the
Yeah.
world. No, I think it's awesome. I think it's so funny because she's like 22, 23 years old and the whole world is watching.
That fiery defense of Caitlin Clark, that was Sophie Cunningham speaking directly to the very fans the old WNBA media machine has been pushing away for months, while legacy journalists wrapped Clark's story in cautious, she just needs time, narratives and hollow calls for balance. Sophie flat out called the Clark critics dumb as hell, and she meant every syllable. That's not just authentic, it's a calculated master. Sophie zeroed in on the league's fastest growing, most passionate fan base. Clarksans spoke their language, not the stale jargon of the media establishment. She chose expansion over exclusion, and her engagement numbers proved the gamble paid off.
You have seen players in our league try to like toughen up Caitlin. We call her CC. For even when I wasn't on her team, like I know the talks that Phoenix had in the locker room of like, no, we're gonna prove her, we're gonna show her what the W really is. You know what I mean? And like I get it to a certain extent, and like every rookie coming into the league, that's how you're gonna treat them. But
Right.
there's just more.
The traditional sports press wants players to stick to sanitized, sponsor-proofed quotes because it keeps them positioned as the necessary interpreters. But when Sophie speaks directly and unapologetically, that entire middleman layer becomes irrelevant. Fans don't need a reporter to clarify her meaning. She says it plainly, and everyone gets it. That alone sends shivers down the spines of traditional journalists. If players like Sophie and Caitlin can reach millions, build massive followings, and control their own stories without the gatekeepers, then what exactly are the gatekeepers selling? Their whole business model was built on controlled access. They had the relationships, and they had the platforms players supposedly needed. Sophie just proved that was never true.
So it's her second year. And like now being on her team and like seeing it, I'm like, what are people doing? Like actually it's just too much. And like, it's just, I'm over it. And if I'm saying it's too much.
And this shift isn't just about one player finding her voice. Sophie's success is setting a new standard for how every WNBA player communicates. Fans are now demanding that same level of raw, unfiltered honesty from others. The cookie-cutter, PR-approved responses that once passed as the norm, they're now seen as fake, corporate fluff. Other players are looking at Sophie's numbers, at the power she's built, and asking themselves why they still let media gatekeepers filter their words when they could be speaking directly to the people. The incentive system has completely flipped. Here's the prediction that will keep traditional editors up at night. Within 6 months, at least a handful of big-name WNBA players will launch their own shows following Sophie's cut out the middleman blueprint. The proof of concept is right there. Sophie didn't just dent the WNBA's media machine, she exposed the fact it was fragile all along. The whole structure only worked because players believed they needed traditional coverage more than traditional coverage needed them. Sophie shattered that illusion and proved that a direct, authentic connection with fans is far more valuable than scripted.
I'm not saying that your job is easy, but when it is a simple call right in front of your face multiple times, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What call are you like bugged out?
All of them.
Most, everything?
Like, it's just like they're just so inconsistent. Like, that's my thing. Like, if you're on the other team and you're going to be finding the shit out of me,
yeah,
cool. But let me do it to you.
Let you, yeah.
You know what I mean?
You want
like,
consistency then.
Yeah, like just give. And I think that's players across the league and like new fans across the country. Like everyone's like, what is going on with the refs? And I'm like, I don't know. And you finding me $500 is not going to do shit.
And here's the part. The old guard never grasped sports fans aren't showing up for safe, polite exchanges. They're here for rivalry, competition, and raw emotion. For years, WNBA coverage has been sanitized into a bland everyone respects everyone narrative to avoid controversy. Sophie proved the reality is the exact opposite. Conflict draws crowds, and genuine emotion builds loyalty. She turned tension into traction and criticism into credibility. From a business standpoint, that's a massive shift. What Sophie is doing is going to reshape how WNBA contracts are written. Media appearance clauses, social media restrictions, and sponsor obligations will all be up for debate. Why? Because players now understand their standalone market value. If Sophie can reach 1.6 million people directly without a PR filter, why would she agree to be muzzled? If her truth brings in more engagement than any pre-approved talking point, why would she stick to the script?
And there's a couple girls in it too.
Dumb question. If someone were to like say someone called men's basketball their whole life and then went over to women's, would they be expected to call the game differently? Just given like the style and like physicality and stuff like that?
The balance of power has flipped in. Now the scramble is on. Some media outlets will try to adapt by loosening the reins and offering more freedom within their platforms. Others will cling to old-school access journalism, relying on team pressure to keep players in line. But the smartest operators, they'll pivot completely, choosing to partner with players instead of trying to control them. And make no mistake, this isn't just a WNBA shift. Sophie's model could work in any pro sport. Direct, unfiltered. Athlete voices will always beat sterilized corporate content when the storytelling is strong. Fans will trust the word of someone who's been in the locker room over a polished column from someone who hasn't. Every single time. The old way treated players as sources and fans as consumers. Sophie's way treats players as creators and fans as part of the conversation. And that, right there, is the root of the current media meltdown.